You're listening to the Board Game Snobs podcast, a ridiculous podcast with ridiculous hosts that discuss ridiculous things. And any mention of board games is purely coincidental. And so, without further ado, and with a heavy dollop of shame and embarrassment on my part, I give you the Board Game Snobs.
And go.
What have you been up to? This is Jerry, by the way, Board Game Snobs podcast.
Did you have a mouth full of something?
What? Sometimes you just want to go, good.
This is Gabby of the Board Game Snobs podcast.
Like, what about Bob? Remember that? Oh, Bill Murray? That's a great scene.
No one will let you forget that scene every time they come over to eat and you feed them lunch. And, Remember What
Who
About
does that
Bob?
anymore?
Yes, I do.
Nobody does that anymore. People should
Old
do
people
more.
do. The
Old people. You know what else boomers do? They can't seem to miss the corner of their mouth for some reason. They always have something just in the corner of their mouth where they were eating. I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying that's a boomer thing.
Well, speaking of generational gaps in ways you act, today I went to the liquor store and, it's run by a bunch of, I don't know how they hire these kids. They look like they're barely 21, some younger than that, I don't know. But millennials, needless to say. So I don't know if you've noticed, Jerry, in your treks across the nation, that millennials aren't very good at customer service. Just simple things as, hello, welcome, anything I can help you with, thank you, have a nice, just pleasantries, just common pleasantries.
Small talk.
No, common pleasantries in customer service, as opposed to generally I purchase my bourbon, my high grade bourbon. I take it to the counter. They don't look at me. They don't say anything to me. They scan it and then just stare at me with cold, dead eyes, assuming that I'm going to, I guess, look at the register myself and figure out how much it costs because they're certainly not going to tell me. And then I pay them, and then they say nothing as they hand me my receipt. Just common courtesy. So today, on this particular trek to the bourbon store, I call it the bourbon store because that's all I ever purchased there. Nothing else is necessary. The nice young lady says, "Welcome, sir. Is there anything else you're going to get today?" Oh, I'm shocked. I'm befuddled because she actually speaks. I said, "No, I'm good, thanks." "All right. Well, that's going to be such and such dollars." I don't give away my high-priced goods. I say, "All right," and I scan it with my card. I do the no touch, the tap pay. I'm all about tap pay. It's quick, it's easy, you don't have to touch nothing. "All right, do you need a bag with that?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take a bag, thanks." "All right." And I was just blown away. Just the nicest, sweetest person. Or maybe she's just a normal person and everyone else has brought the bar down so low that just a common pleasantry makes me think you're one of the nicest people I've ever met. I almost wanted to tip the young lady. I wanted to tip her and say, good on you for knowing how to speak to somebody.
You're coming pretty hard for somebody who I well know is very much introverted. I think one does protest a lot.
I know how to be pleasant when spoken to, especially if I was in a customer service job. You should hear me. You should hear me at my job when I answer the phones and I say, "Hello, claims department, this is Gabriel."
Pretend like I call you. Ring, 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 ring.
"Hello, claims department, this is Gabriel. May I have the last 6 of the VIN?"
Gabriel. What's a VIN? Diesel?
That's a vehicle identification number. You can find
Where
it on
do you
your
find
dash or on the door.
My dash.
See, look
I
at
don't
there.
do no
I beat you to it.
DoorDash.
I'm so good at my job, I beat you to the question.
This DoorDash.
I mean, if you have the driver there and he's able to help you, then he might be able to find it for you, but it's just on the dash of your car in the corner, right by the windshield.
So you think that somebody's pleasantry, that is an indication of whether or not they're a good person?
No, it's just it's what used to be part of the job. There's no need to be rude. The world is cold and ruthless enough I don't need it from my customer service people. A smiling face, a pleasant manner, a pleasant demeanor, a kind word, it goes a long way these days.
I just feel I get you. I'm not going up against you here. I agree with you. But I tend to, well, for instance, I just came from Whataburger yesterday, as you well know, because I was on the phone with you discussing very important topics while I was in Whataburger to pick up my food, for which I'd ordered on their app. I'm all about apps these days. I got tired of everybody asking me, have you downloaded the app? So I've downloaded all the apps, and now my phone has a virus. But it doesn't matter.
Me as well.
The individuals that are working there at said Whataburger, I could tell that their life wasn't going well right now. Like something had happened. A bus had just left. Something had gone on. They were not having a great day.
Wait. How old were these people?
They ranged. The young man who served me my food was a younger lad, and his manager appeared to be around my age. So it was varied. So, yeah, it was not just that group. It was a wide range of people, and I could tell. And I would think to myself, yeah, I bet their job sucks. This is not a job that you go to that you find a lot of fulfillment in. It's like you're making burgers, and you're there. It's a rough job. And so if you're looking a little bit down, I'm just not, you're bored out of your mind. And so I cut him a lot of slack. But I will say it is nice when somebody is nice to you and you're nice back to them. But I would proffer that perhaps we being the customers, a lot of times are also quite, what's the term I'd like to use? We ourselves are quite cold as well at times. Would you say?
I'm sure they get plenty of that.
Right. I'm saying us personally.
Back in the old days of customer service, which don't exist anymore, just decent manners were taught to you. Greet the customer. Give them a goodbye. Ask them if there's anything else you can help them with. That was taught. I don't guess it's taught anymore because the reaction, maybe I come in and I don't feel good, but I come into the Whataburger and you have a smile on your face and ask me, can you take my order? I'm like, oh, that's nice. You've just brightened up my day. I came in here sour. I leave satisfied.
Sweet and sour.
I think it's upon the person whose job it is to be that way. Again, at least used to be. I mean, that's why Walmart has a greeter. They have no other job than to greet you, to set the mood, to set the tone for your shopping.
They're to watch to see if you're stealing. That's what that greeter was.
That too. But they also set the tone for my Walmart experience. If I don't get a hello from the greeter, then my day is ruined.
I don't expect the Whataburger people to be in charge of my emotions, nor do I expect them to be friendly. And I would argue that this
of course you would argue. It's all you do. You're the opposite side of this scenario if I had brought it up otherwise.
No, I'm saying is that I've thought deeply on this. No, I'm not devil's advocate. I've thought deeply about this. I think there's always going to be this idea that customer service has gone downhill and that back in the day people were friendlier. I don't think that's true. I think that it has remained the same. If not in some ways, in some areas actually improved. Now, I bring this up because not only did I go, okay, so let me just tell you this.
I would say that's wrong because society in general has become more rude.
Well, I'm going to hit you with the anecdotal evidence because that's how you always get me. So I'm going to use your own weapons against you. The same experience I had in Whataburger yesterday, let me tell you about 3 other distinct experiences. 1, I went to Best Buy. I don't go into Best Buy. I don't like Best Buy, but I did because I desperately needed a new UPS battery backup system for my PC because I put a new video card in it, 7800, and I just need it because it's killing my old backup. Long story short, I walk through the door. The little lady who greets us, young gal, she says, "Hello. Are you looking for something?" And I said, "Yes, I am. I'm looking for a UPS." And she pointed me right in the direction of where I needed to go. And as I walked away, Best Buy does this thing. I don't know if you know this, but they radio ahead to the department that you're going to. And they give a description of you. They're like, hey, there's this autistic looking guy, khakis, Jeffrey Dahmer glasses, going to the computers. They radio ahead
your
to the
average white man coming back.
Yes. Male, white, 40s, probably depressed.
Could be literally anyone.
I'm the gray man. You can't find me. It's a bunch of, just walk back there. We're all just standing around with our New Balance shoes and our Skechers.
Possibly Justin Timberlake, possibly Steve from accounting.
You just don't know. So, but she radios ahead so that somebody can greet you while you're there, which I did not need to be greeted. And I did not need help in selecting what I wanted. But he was there, and he made sure I understood that if I needed him, yeah. So anyways, I bought what I needed. I left. I then, on my way, had to dodge a small dog, and in doing so, hit a pothole and knocked the underpinning of the company car I was driving at the time, which was a Nissan Sentra. It was dragging along the road. And I was thinking to myself that this was awful. I had somewhere I had to be. There happened to be a Meineke right there, like an oil change place. I whipped in there, the parking lot, realized what had happened, walked in and said, "Hey, do y'all take do you take this, whatever? I need to get this fixed. And I need to get it fixed now." The owner popped out there, took my company car, drove it through, fixed it really fast, drove it out. And I said, "How much I owe you?" He says, "Don't worry about it." He says, "You just broke the plastic clips off the guard." He says, "You're fine." He says, "It's like 75 cents. Don't worry about it." So completely rushed me ahead of everybody else because I said, I'm in a hurry. And he could tell I'm in a company car. It's a hospice car. He's like, "Oh, this is like..."
Somebody's dying. Else I get this man to them.
Somebody's dying. I need to get this guy.
He's a hero.
Mortician. He's a healthcare hero. And so there you go. So basically, I'm up 2 extremely nice encounters. I then decide to push my luck.
Oh, that's where you messed up.
And I sought out.
That's where you messed up.
It went great. It went great. Because I knew what I was going for. I went to Hobbytown. Not Flavortown. Hobbytown.
Did you know Guy Fieri is worth $100 million?
Every penny. He is worth that. The haircut alone. I
find his demeanor pleasant.
It would be funny if it's like they finally on his deathbed. It's like, "What's your favorite food?" It's like macaroni and cheese.
I would not doubt it. He presents that persona like he knows.
He does.
He knows good food, but he's also just country. He's just one of us. That's what I get from him. Even though he looks like that guy that sings, "I just want to fly. Put
Smash
your
Mouth?
arms around me, baby." No, Sugar Ray.
Oh, no.
Sugar Ray.
You think he don't look like Sugar Ray. He does look like Sugar Ray. He looks like a fat Sugar Ray.
He looks like Diabetic Ray. How dare you fat shame him?
I didn't fat shame him. I laughed at your joke.
Soon to be Ozempic Ray. Oh.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Well, speaking of poor customer service,
I'm not done. I'm not done. I didn't get you interrupted my Hobbytown.
I didn't hear the trifecta.
The trifecta. I went to the trifecta because I was looking for a very specific thing. I was looking for a nerd. I needed to know about LiPo batteries, not suction, and the nickel hydra metal, the NHD, whatever, the different types of batteries that are used in various types of RC and airplane model airplanes, because I had an incident with one, and I was working on an RC car for my son,
which stands for remote control for the uninitiated.
and I needed to know if I had messed something up, if it was the battery or whatnot. So I went to Hobbytown and found what looked like the comic book guy from The Simpsons behind the desk. And very tentatively was expecting to be, kind of scoffed at as I asked my very basic lithium battery questions. But no, to my shock, he was not only friendly, but quite knowledgeable. And I had a great experience in Hobbytown, left with the said battery and charger that I needed, as well as I bought my daughter a gift as well. Bought her one of those little model like books that have like a scene in them. What do you call them? I don't know what they call them.
Pop-up?
People who know, they know. No, it's not a pop up. You wouldn't know if you don't do arts and crafts, but the people who do arts and crafts know about arts and crafts stuff, and they would know what I'm talking about. But the little book scenes, can't think what they are. But yeah. Anyways, and then went on my way. It was a great deal.
Well,
Great. So it's like, so out of my 4 experiences, I had a understandably drab experience at Whataburger, but had nothing but great experiences with multiple people at other various establishments, which leads me to my point that I think that really it's just the older you get, the more sensitive you are towards these little things. And thus, since you've reached that age, you have fallen into the trap of people used to teach good manners. And no, go to Chick-fil-A and be in awe.
On a downhill slide. It's just fact to me.
Well, but that does not. Well, that's your perception of it. But I'm saying that on
perception is 9/10 of the law
per capita. I just don't think that that's the case. I think people in customer service, in a lot of ways, have gotten friendlier. Even sales people are all about sales. People are all about franchising themselves.
Now, if I could just go without having to interact with humans, I'm down for that. But if I do have to interact, I just be nice. Just be friendly. Don't stare at me like I'm bothering you. I'm sorry.
They're looking at you because they see you at the bourbon store all the time, and they're thinking, "Here's that guy again.
He's got to have a problem."
In.
So, but I did, speaking again of customer service, and well, it's not really customer service, it's just buying things. I'm just talking about buying things. Purchased some 21 Pilots is making a last tour, and me and Sade and friends of course, have to go because they're one of my favorite bands. They're coming through Dallas in October sometime in the fall. I don't know if you ever bought tickets online before for something for like a major band. And they tell you...
I don't do concerts.
They tell you...
But I have gone to Monster Jam.
They tell you, well, then perhaps you've had a similar experience. When the tickets, or not even the tickets go on sale at 10, but at 9:30 they open the queue. And so you have to be there sitting on top of your mouse, ready to press it at the quick as lightning. I couldn't think of anything else fast. So when it rolls over from 9:29 to 9:30, you tap that join the queue button, and I do that, and I'm 10,000 people behind. I don't know how that's possible. I don't understand. 10,000 people clicked that mouse faster than me, and I clicked it within milliseconds. I don't understand.
Your internet. It's your internet.
Probably so.
Slower.
Probably so. So anyway... But me and several others were also in queue so that whoever got there faster could get the tickets. Well, we were going to hopefully be in the pit, right up close, moshing with the greatest of fans of the band, like we were last time. And it was a wonderful, fantastic, closest I've ever been to a big band. And they were, we were hundreds of feet away from them as opposed to the nosebleed section miles away. No such luck this time. We're in the lawn. And if you are familiar with Dallas, it's basically again, millennials wouldn't know, but it used to be the Starplex back in my day, and it's gone through many iterations of whatever the hot new brand is that wants to sell out this stadium. And they have, covered seating, and then they have the lawn, or general admission, basically. And the lawn's not bad. I've been to this place many times over the years. I saw Aerosmith there back in the year 2001 in early September. If you can associate those two, it was right before 9/11, which has nothing to do with the story, but that's how I remember when it was. And it's a nice location, but yet we're on the lawn. I'll be standing for another 5 hours at this concert. Again, I was kind of hoping for some seats. But anyway, so that's tickets to purchase this one. Some friends of mine bought some tickets to a Luke Bryan concert that was happening as of this recording. They should be at it right now. On their way to Dallas, speaking of customer service, on their way to Dallas, and a large group is going. They receive an email saying, sorry, this has been rescheduled for October. Just bam, drop of a hat.
Wow.
Canceled. Apparently he had some voice issue from his last night's concert, which I'm not a Luke Bryan guy. He's a country singer, I think.
Okay, that's why I don't know him.
Yeah, I think he might be the guy that turns the chair in The Voice. He's one of those. Again,
He turns the chair?
Yeah, you know how in The Voice they turn their chairs? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I haven't watched The Voice.
You've never seen The Voice?
Very, very long time.
So, like, apparently...
I've watched it 1 or 2 times.
They in order to get an unbiased opinion of someone's voice, apparently, they're not facing the person when they come out and start singing. They're facing the opposite direction. And if they're intrigued enough, they'll tap the button in dramatic fashion and the chair rotates and they can see, oh, this person is hideous. They'll never make it, and I've turned the chair poorly. Or, oh, this person is a great singer and looks good. That's what it's all about. That's exactly what that whole thing's all about. Is this an ugly singer or is it a pretty singer? And I've won the jackpot. Anyway, he's one of those guys.
Oh. Maybe that's what Palpatine was doing all that time, turning the chair around. You are the chosen one. And he's going to hit the button and then realizing, nope.
All right. Well, we have a few emails to get through.
Please.
As in 3. Well,
nice.
I'll go to Bruno first. He emailed. This was on my terminology of the hamburger, which is basically the 3 lines that is generally the setting. Bruno Bernet says his title is Web Burgers. The use of quote unquote the hamburger when referring to a website menu has been completely adopted by the web industry and has been for years. I don't know any other name for it.
I had never heard that term. This is why that fascinates me. I'm glad somebody told me about this.
It's the menu button. Hamburger. Then Barry Taylor, my brother-in-law, who also contributes to Patreon, thank you, Barry, says, Dear Snobs, it seems 2025 will be a banner year. For hurricanes. The names have been chosen, and they are. And someone actually posted this in our Facebook some time ago, so Barry's a little late on this one. But the chosen names for these hurricanes, basically, he mentioned several. Andrea Barry, Chantel Dexter Aaron Fernand, Gabrielle, the feminine version with 2 L's and an E at the end. Not the way I spell my name, but I see what you're doing. Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, and then many others. Seeing as we each have a storm named after us, we should wager which will be the most impressive. I wager it will be Jerry, as he seems to be most full of hot air. Burn, Barry. Your fan, Barry.
Burn, Barry, burn. Oh, my Lord. Barry, calm down. Oh, God.
And then...
that's your brother-in-law.
That's my brother-in-law.
Barry.
Then Lindsay says of missing BGG. There's that sound again. That is some noise that gets made. It's when people are chatting it up and...
It's just A. Woods sending me a message. Nobody cares. Quit being
but
so
I
meta.
hear it.
Well, actually,
no, I hear it, and it comes through on the audio, which I have to edit.
Don't edit it out. Oh, no. Don't.
I don't like hearing it going beep, beep.
I love that people. I wish more people would send
They can send all they want. I just need to figure out how to mute the notifications.
Don't mute them. He was sending something.
They're right here. I've got them. It's going to be okay. Let's see. Enable desktop notifications.
I'm not going to mute it on my end. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it.
Don't. Sounds.
Not going to do it.
Messy. Okay, let me mute. Here we go. All these sounds are getting muted. Boom, boom, boom. Why
Thanks,
are so
A-Wood.
many? Oh, he left
uh,
us, I believe it was him. He's Andrew.
Yeah, A. Woods.
He left us a nice review that is not yet posted to Apple for some reason, but it's been several months. And I just happened to come across it in another site that kind of keeps track of like stats and stuff for your podcast. And he posted a very nice review for us after Musical Chef slandered us. Andrew came in there and brought us back up. He brought us back up to a 4.5 on the Richter scale.
I hate to tell you this, but I'm the musical chef.
Whatever. You don't even have Apple.
I'm going to. I do too. My wife got an iPhone.
All right. So Lindsay says, missing BGG.
We'll start posting negative. Oh, go ahead.
Hi,
Lindsay.
snobs. Do you ever wonder what people are doing or where they are when they listen to your podcast? I'm usually driving, and today this is what my drive looked like while I listened. And she posted a very pleasant picture of some hills and mountains as a creek runneth through them. Then she posts like a lake with some pollen in it, and she had to tell us that was pollen. She says, I think it's interesting how your voices can be present in every intimate or private and very intimate, not every intimate. Strange on you.
That's what she said. Oh, yeah.
Oh, time to get intimate. Let's start the podcast.
And start the podcast to get things started.
Oh, I don't know if that's Lord. Like to get things going or like a cold shower. Anyway.
And go. There's a joke there. I'm not going to make it.
It was made. I think it's interesting how your voices can be present in very intimate or private spaces. What is EG? I know it's like, for example,
Ergo,
a bathroom or bedroom. I think that's also why people can feel like they are part of something when they listen. The combination of listening long enough to get a sense of someone's personality, coupled with the fact that you might listen in a space that is normally only shared with friends or family. Ergo, home, car. Kind of weird to think about. Anyways, listening to you talk about BGG in the last 2 episodes really made me feel nostalgic for my one and only time at BGG. Eric and I looked forward to the event and getting to game with you. Sorry, Gobby, if you hated gaming with us strangers and had a blast at the event. But it's interesting how familiar...
I bought Beyond the Sun.
But it's
just simply because we played that with Eric.
But it's interesting how familiar you felt because I had been listening for so long, but also realizing how weird it is to be a fan of something because it's a one-sided relationship. I'm hoping we can attend next year. I really love the experience and how it got me excited to game even after we returned home. Looking forward to making Gobby feel uncomfortable again in the future. Laughy face, Lindsay.
I gamed with Dorian Phoenix or Duran Phoenix. We played some Helldivers together the other day. He loves democracy. Dorian is not his real name. He's got one of those names that is...
It's Christopher?
Yeah, it's like traditionally shortened. It's Matthew or Christopher. It's Christopher, which really irritates me because if your name is Matthew, people should call you Matthew. Don't shorten it unless you choose to shorten it yourself. But I really think people do that because they have no choice. But who do you know that is called Christopher? Nobody. Christopher Reeves.
Columbus.
No one calls him Chris Reeves.
Columbus.
Who? Yeah, no one called him Chris Columbus. Chris Columbus. That sounds weird. I can't hardly say it.
Christopher Columbus.
But like, yeah, everybody, yeah, it's just, no one says Chris Columbus.
No, they call him CC.
But I'm saying is that people you never hear that. People will automatically shorten it to Chris. And I think that's wrong.
I'm a shortener.
That's just my stance. But that's just because you don't appreciate the beauty that is the syllables. Christopher.
I like to shorten things. I like to shorten them in a semblance of familiarity and friendship with you. Jerry is what...
No, I think...
Jerry is what my... Now, what do they say? That's my dad's name. You can call me Jer. Yeah.
You can't do that. I don't like shortening of names.
Or Mr. Baker, you can call me Jerry.
No, you use my full name.
PhD.
That's Sir. That's
Doctor.
Mister.
That's
That's
Dr.
Mr.
Baker.
Tibbs. You can call me Mr. Tibbs. Sidney Poitier. But go ahead with the next letter, please.
That was it.
Oh,
Michael
are
Shane
we on to
Parson.
questions?
Michael Shane Parson. I can't remember. I was looking for the email. Maybe it was just a Facebook post.
Look at there. 3 names in one. Michael Shane
He was
Parsons.
just singing
That's
our
a great
praises for
name.
being nice people at the con.
That he did. He's particularly
would be
me, because I was the one that stopped. Talked to him so
Of
much.
course. Yeah, as he massages our egos, you massage your own.
I was the one that stopped to talk to him.
I talked to him as well.
Just saying.
You weren't there.
No,
You were nowhere to be seen.
You weren't where to be seen when I talked to him.
I don't think you did. It's hearsay.
I did.
Hearsay.
Well, he heard me say it.
Pics or it didn't happen.
Let's see here. What was the discussion?
The discussion was about IP, and I actually wrote down some thoughts.
Ooh.
Because
All
if I
right,
didn't write them
IP.
down immediately, I would immediately forget them.
Let's see. Here's a question it's from Duran Phoenix.
Yeah, look at there.
There's a lot of board games that uses IPs from video games these days, and a number of video games that are made from board games. Do you find yourself interested / compelled to play, or at least purchase if you collect, like Tyler from Chicagoland, these quote-unquote crossover titles when you like the original material they are based on? My buddy has been playing the Tainted Grail video game, which is like Skyrim in the board game universe. He's loving it, and he never knew it was a board game. We have things like Helldivers, Cyberpunk, Monster Hunter, etc. becoming board games, but why choose that over simply playing the video games? Also, what video / board game do you think could make the switch successfully? Is there one you'd like to see? I could see Blueprints becoming a board game. I have thoughts on this. I'll listen to your thoughts first.
Well, he says I could see, because he has thoughts how it would be done, as you could have tiered room decks that you shuffle and draw from. It's ultimately a tile-laying game in video format. Well, you would have more to say, but I did, because you play more video games than me, I pretty much stick to, are we still playing Halo and Madden? That's what I play. But so I initially was going to take a terribly non-interesting way out and say, I don't care. But then I got to thinking about it, and that's not entirely true.
You do care.
So when it comes to IP, well, this part is true. I don't care like I used to. When I was a child, if there was a certain intellectual property that I was interested in, as there were many that I was at the time, Star Wars, Star Trek, Quantum Leap, Magnum PI, Dick Tracy. When Dick Tracy came out, I bought the comic books, I bought the toys, I bought the coloring books, I bought the watch, I bought a freaking overcoat to wear just to look like Dick Tracy.
The toys were awesome.
I was
I
heavily,
think I still got my Dick Tracy.
invested. They came out with playing cards as well.
I had Prune Face.
I had it all. I wish I still did, but I had it all. So at one point in time, if they came out with a game that was Dick Tracy, I would have been there. However,
They did. It was on. Not
was it
board
NES
game,
or
I'm sorry.
something?
It was NES. I had it. It was great.
But as far as what he's saying specifically about board games crossing over to video games and vice versa, if a board game crossed over to video game, I wouldn't care, because I'm not that interested in video games that much. If it got lots of praise and said, oh man, they made Catan this super interesting Mass Effect style game where you have to make all these decisions and choose where the robber goes. And that's part of...
Give me your sheep.
I'm got lost down the long winding road. So that's one thing. It's like, for me to make a board game an interesting video game, or even other media, books, movie, it helps if it either has a large culture around it or like a lot of lore. like I was thinking of
Data's brother?
Go
ahead.
Call.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to think. Twilight Imperium. You know, it's got all these planets. You know, it's got what's the middle one's name? Rex Macau or Macau. You know, they all got names.
Yeah,
all the,
Mescal.
That's where they
Mescal will wreck you.
Yeah, and the you know, they all have the planets have their names. All the different aliens have names, and so that would just be like good for East, kind of like Minecraft did for movies. You know, it's like everybody shows up and goes, "Oh, basically, I get that reference," type thing. But as far as a video game becoming a board game, that what I would be more interested in, because I would be interested in how are they going to turn this part of this video game into this particular mechanic. But even at that, I was there at BGG when Tim and Betsy and Enrique were playing Slay the Spire. And as they were playing it, Tim said, I'd rather just play the video game because it's just like this. So I believe that would be the issue for me. It's like you have all this upkeep in this board game that the video game does away with. So ultimately, my answer is it doesn't really make a difference to me. I would be interested more in something going from video to board. Going from board to video, I honestly don't care because I don't play video games that much. However, if you were to make things into a book, like if you were to make Twilight Imperium a book or a movie, that I would be interested in just to see how they build out the characters. Or I was thinking of like Magic the Gathering. I mean, basically, it's just a fantasy. It would be a fantasy movie. Or you make something about it, kind of like Fanboys was for Star Wars, where they're taking their sick friend to see the Phantom Menace. And they kind of just made fun of the culture. I could see like a Magic the Gathering game where they, you know, poke fun at the people that play the game, but also have, you know, some affection for those that do.
All right. I have a much more nuanced take on this. Perhaps I thought too much about this. So when somebody says, and I will reread his question here for just a moment, talking about do you find yourself compelled or interested to play or to purchase or to collect this material on the IP? I would say yes, and I think most people are compelled by IPs to some degree. Even Gabi, who purchased the dreadful Fast and Furious board game. I think that
and
IPs,
also Survivor, and also Cobra Kai.
Right. Like I wasn't even going to bring those up. But my point being is that everybody is naturally drawn to an IP. They're just it's the same reason why everybody thought that Stranger Things was such a great series. It was nothing but callbacks and things that kind of gave you a very similar feel to very similar movies or experiences that you had at a much younger time. So IPs are a great way to grab attention. Now, I do collect, or it does draw my attention to when it is an IP of something that I really like, something of that nature, something that kind of keys me in. For instance, you brought up the Helldivers board game. I'm interested in that. But I think the point that Dorian is also bringing up, and I think it's something that I find to be fascinating, and probably a question that this is the rabbit hole I went down. People have this, and this is a pet peeve of mine, when there's a book and it's made into a movie, people say the same thing. The book was better, correct?
Correct. And it's untrue on at least 2 occasions I know of.
That's like the main argument that people always make. My question is, yes, and so yeah, there's several times where I believe that the movie was preferable to the book. But my point being is that who says that they're trying to make the book, into a movie? It's almost nigh impossible for the most part because the book is so, it would require multiple movies, even in your most basic of novels for the most part.
Dune.
But my point being is that why do you feel like a book would have to be completely faithful to every nuance of it for it to be made into a movie? One of the arguments I would make, and here's the 2 various examples. One would be Jurassic Park. The Jurassic Park, the book, is very different from Jurassic Park, the movie. I do not think Jurassic Park the book, if it had been made faithful to its material, would have been as culturally important and as popular as the Spielberg version of it. He knew what he was doing. He knew what characters to change and what the audiences would really fall in love with, rather than making a very dark, brooding, more adult Jurassic Park, which Michael Crichton, man, that guy wrote some good stuff. But the guy wrote about some dark stuff. The guy researched everything. He wrote about some boring stuff too. He wrote the most interesting, boring books. That Airframe, stuff like that.
That's immediately the one that comes to mind.
So boring. I read that thing from cover to cover. So incredibly boring, but still, I was hooked on it.
It was like, here's how airplanes are made.
How did this thing crash? And he was writing about a true story, basically. It was based on like a true story where some guy let his kid fly the plane. Spoilers alert. But either way, I digress. My point being is that sometimes when we take a video game and we turn it into a board game, we're not trying to one-for-one that video game into a board game. We're trying to capture the essence of it. And sometimes they're going, no, we think we can reproduce exactly what the game is and put it in board game form. I think Slay the Spire is an example of that, where it was a video game first. It was already a card game. They're making video games now that are board games before they're even board games. They just go, well, we'll just make this into a video game, an app or whatever. And then later they bring it out as a board game. And it's like the reason it was a video game is so there was less upkeep, which is why I think people are compelled to like the digital format. Vis-a-vis Board Game Arena. Everybody, as Gabi, I think that when you said that you're not interested in a board game becoming a video game, my first thought was Board Game Arena, because that's basically what they're doing. Although I think that wasn't what you meant.
No, I meant more like are they going to if they're just turning it into a digital version, that's one thing. If they're turning Scythe into a, like I said, RPG of some sort.
Which they did. It was called Iron Harvest, and I didn't think it was that great, but it was fine. I actually enjoyed it more than the board game. But that I think that's the point, is like taking a board game and trying to push it off into another media. I think that really what works best, and that's why I'm actually interested in the Helldivers board game, is that it's going to capture some of the essence of the video game, but it's not going to be the video game. I don't want the video game in board game form. I want you to analog certain outstanding features that the game has that doesn't require a graphical, visual, 3D representation, and provide that in a 1-hour format in an analog form that I can play with 4 other people. That's your mission. And if you can do that, you got yourself a board game that I'm going to buy. The same is true with a lot of these board game adaptation to video games. You can't just make a board game into another board game and slap it on there in the digital space. You have to kind of do what Scythe did and try to make it into a real-time strategy or something of that nature that coexists in that world. It captures the theme, but not the mechanics, I guess. Another good example of a movie that was completely different from its source material, which happens to be a great book, which you need to read, Gabi, because you need to be freaked out by zombies. World War Z. Have you ever read that?
Of
course not. World War Z.
Why did you say course not?
Because it's a zombie book. Who reads a zombie book?
I read Red Harvest. You know what that is?
I'm saying that people. I have no idea what that is. I don't read zombie books. I don't think anybody reads zombie books. I think people.
It's the Drew Karpyshyn book in the Star Wars universe, where.
Oh yeah, that one. That's the exception.
And guess who shows up?
I know, Han and
Chewie.
Spoilers, but that's spoilers. You're spoiling the whole thing.
30-year-old book. It's not that old, actually.
Yeah. It's not that old, but yeah. My point being, though, is that zombies, that cliche, World War Z is a great thing because it is a recounting of a war that took place and how the top-down view of what happened, of like not individuals, but really what governments did, how it happened. It's a recounting of it through like a documentary series. It's like after the fact. The war is over. Here's this guy going and interviewing people about what happened, how it happened. It's written by Max Brooks, which is Mel Brooks' son, apparently.
Okay.
Fast
I knew there was
forward
a Max in there somewhere. I was thinking Max Landis, but that's the guy that did the Chronicle movie, which is a found footage film that's pretty good, but he's a pretty terrible person. Go ahead.
The Chronics of Narnia.
The Chronics?
Chronics what? Yeah. Did you realize? Yeah, the Chronics what? Calls of Narnia. The SNL skit.
I got you.
That's a
Natalie
great
Portman. I'm there. Which acted poorly in Fountains of Youth. Just saying.
Please, nobody expected that to be any good. Did have my boy Drumhole Gleason in it. I love Drumhole.
Love Drumholes?
Love me some of that guy. I love him. Drumhole, please. That's what I'm always saying.
Fills me with glee, son.
He's going to be starring in the new spinoff of The Office, FYI.
Oh my God.
Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. I don't know why I express. I'm not. The Office died a horrible death after I'll give it 3 unnecessary seasons. A horrendous death. The last 2 seasons, absolute garbage. So let The Office die. It was a fantastic show. But I say that, but if you can resurrect it and has fresh, new, witty writing and compelling characters, I'm in. I'll be back in. You got me.
That's what she said. I think, as I was saying about the World War Z, Brad Pitt bought the rights to that movie and butchered it and made it into, and the reason I bring this up is because they're making the sequel. The movie is nothing
what's after
at
Z?
all like World War Z 2. I guess. I don't know what
There's
they're going to call
after
it.
Z.
But World War Z 2, World War Sigma. I don't know.
They wrap back
I don't
around.
know, but they're making
World
a sequel.
War Alpha. It's a full
They're
wrap
making
around.
another sequel.
They're going from king to ace on this one.
They got it.
They're a sequel.
but-
It's so much of a sequel. It's a prequel.
28 days before. Either way,
Did you see that
this
meme?
is a
No,
I
they got
haven't.
28 days later, 28 weeks later. There is a 28 months later, but I can't tell if that's related to the initial IP. And now, of course, 28 years
It's
later,
not.
it's just come out. But then
they've got a pregnancy that went for a real long time.
they put 28 days at the beginning of it, which is what's her name? Sandra Bullock, like trying not
Sandra
to.
Bullock, yeah.
She's trying not to be an alcoholic or something.
That's what they should have done, and I bet this guy's kicking him. The director is kicking himself. They should have released 28 seconds, and it just been a trailer that just lasted 28 seconds, and then they could have released a short film that only lasted 28 minutes, and then released the movie 28 days, and that would have been meta. And then I don't know why they didn't wait exactly 28 years to release this film. And then that would have been it.
Did they not?
could have
I thought
pulled it
that was
off.
the point.
I think it was like 25 years. I think the original came out in 2002
No.
because it's got my boy in it. It's got Cillian Murphy.
Killian, nice pronunciation.
Peaky Blinders. He has got a jawline that won't quit.
And blue eyes that won't quit.
Piercing blue eyes. And everybody forgets that he was in that terrible Stephen King movie, Red Eye.
Yeah, that's on Netflix, and it's leaving soon, so watch it while you can.
Please do, because it's not that bad of a film until the very, very last, when he ends up getting stabbed in the neck in a very comical fashion.
With a pen.
Either way, with a pen, which is mightier than the sword. The point being is that with IPs and them being translated into different mediums, I don't think that necessarily you have to worry about trying to match one for one the feel. You're just trying to capture the essence. And so, yes, I think the answer to Dorian's question is, yeah, there are some IPs that I am compelled to purchase that I do like. And I do like it when they're not exactly the same thing. I don't want, because you can't. You can't make a board game to be exactly like the video game unless the video game was like Slay of the Spire and was already a board game that was just digitized before the fact. Like Bialtro, the card game. That game is very much that could be released as a board game, a simple card game. But who wants to do all that math?
I know.
Nobody.
I know. He mentioned, I guess, more specifically, video games to board games because they're in kind of the same sphere. But if we're just talking IP, I've wanted to play something like what you said. I did get the Fast and Furious game. I bought the awful Cobra Kai game. I just purchased the. It's just a cheesy card game, The Survivor, with starring Jeff Probst, designed by Jeff Probst. I'm sure just as much as whatever that's not my relative, Apples to Apples, was designed by Jeff Foxworthy.
We talked to Jeff, and Jeff told us live that he designed that.
I know he did.
And Jeff is coming to Grant Casino.
Design something if you're just slightly shifting.
Yes.
It's like you can make apples to apples, but instead I'm calling it dice to
Don't
dice.
be insulted, Jeff.
I don't know.
Jeff is coming in October to Grant, Oklahoma Casino.
We should go there.
I have already
be on the front row and just repeatedly shout, "Do you remember us?"
I've already emailed and said, "Jeff, do you remember us? We're coming to see you." Jeff is literally coming
some jokes
almost to my hometown.
Yeah, he is like 20 miles away. Which is, I don't know that that's a good thing. Although Grant does, the Choctaw casinos do get some surprisingly, I'd say B+ at the most.
Kevin Costner's band played
the
there.
Choctaw Casino.
You watch what you've got to say.
It's kind of like the second run theater when you can go in there and pay $1 after everybody's already seen Marvel's Endgame.
Vanilla Ice was there, and did you see that they're having the midget wrestling?
Yes, and you can say that because you cannot say that. It's dwarf.
No,
I sent
they
that
don't
to
mind
you.
being called.
I sent that to you in messages.
Oh, I thought that was a newsletter.
No, I sent it to you in my message. They're having dwarf wrestling in Paris, Texas, at the Civic Center. July 11th. It's like, are we supposed to laugh? Are you supposed to be offended for them? I mean, they're throwing it there. I don't understand it.
But we're going, right?
I've already purchased the tickets.
Okay. Well, and get one for Enrique too.
I thought we could enter his fingers in the tournament.
Well, anyways, I love IPs.
Oh, wait. Sorry, before I got distracted by my own distraction, like Indiana Jones. Love Indiana Jones still to this day. That's why I watched that garbage movie Fountains of Youth on Apple Plus. They had I think that was who's the company that's now out of business? They kind of worked with Pop Funko.
Enron.
No, they made all the IP games and then went out of business. They made, I think, Goonies. Maybe they did. Maybe Pop Funko did make them.
Prosper Hall.
Yeah. Prospero Hall or something like that. I wanted to play the Indiana Jones game because it's Indiana Jones. I wanted to play Goonies because it kind of got relatively good reviews. I kind of wanted to play Stranger Things.
Goonies.
And they're more family style games, real quick and easy to learn, quick and easy to play. I'm sure they're not great, but based on IP alone, I was interested. Did I buy and purchase them? No, I have some because the Fast and Furious game actually got some pretty good reviews. So I bought that one. But yeah, that was a good question. Duran was a good question.
He's a decent hell diver. I didn't say great. Found out he didn't embrace level 10. Him and his buddies were all playing on like 7 or 8. I had to push them to
You're speaking gibberish
max out
to me.
and blackout. Well, it's because you don't love
You're
democracy.
speaking Greek.
If you love democracy.
Greek to
you
me.
don't love democracy. Well, it's because, and they invented democracy. That's why you don't
The
get
Greeks did?
Pretty sure they did.
Them or Rome.
I think the French had
I thought
something
they
to
were
do with it.
republics. They weren't really democracies. Democracy is where it's just a general populist vote creates whatever. But we're not even a
'cause
democracy. We're a republic because we have the Electoral College, etc.
Constitutional republic. Either way, that's what I say, Dorian.
Duran, thank you for your question. That's going to do it for this episode of the Board Game Snobs podcast. Thank you for listening. If you would like to leave us a review, you can do so on Apple Podcasts. You can do so on Spotify. But what we really want are your emails. Email us on your thoughts on the IP video game to board game and vice versa debate, whether or not that has an effect on you and your purchasing influences, or just email us anything you want. But we like to receive emails. Also, you can join our Discord where we're recording this very podcast. Sometimes we will just chat with individuals that happen to also be on. And just thanks for listening. We also have a Patreon, which funds all of this. It pays the bills, as they say, and also will help us go to the Dice Tower Retreat, where we produce tons of content, which is what we love.
So much content.
So much content. It's going to be too much tent. TNT.
It's going to be intent.
TNT.
I can't wait to produce content.
I love producing content. All right.
Love
before we
producing content.
Yeah, we got it. We love it. We live for this stuff.
I don't think you understand how much content I am capable of producing.
I've been after you in the mornings to the bathroom. I'm quite aware.
You do not understand my potential for content.
That's going to do it for this particular episode full of content. Until next time, I am Gabi.
This is Jerry.
Bye-bye.